Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to hang out just for a minute and give everyone a chance to join. All right, we still got a couple more people popping on here. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Modern Litho, I'd like to welcome you. Today, we'll be learning about the 2025 USPS Mailing Promotions and Incentives. We're glad you're here. My name is Cassandra Atchison, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Modern Litho. I'm going to be your host and moderator today. Also joining us today is our Vice President of Sales, Mark Gerling, several of our account executives, and of course, many of our direct mail clients and customers. Before we begin, I just wanted to note a couple things. We are recording the session today, and we'll make it available afterwards to anybody who would like to view it again. We will be using the Q&A feature on the webinar itself. So I encourage you to type your questions as we go. You can just in real time as they come to mind, you can put them in the chat, and we'll have a dedicated Q&A session with Chris after the presentation. Also, we're going to do our best to wrap up within an hour, but we have a lot of good information to share, so we hope you'll find it helpful and you'll stick around. So with that, we're excited to have Chris Lien as our speaker today, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce him now. We still have some people joining us, so we may have to pause to let them in here. So Chris Lien is Executive Vice President of Postal Affairs for BCC Software, a Blue Crest company. He's been active in the mailing industry for over 30 years and participates in numerous industry associations, including the Postmaster General's Mailers Technical Advisory Committee as a former industry chair. As Executive Vice President of Postal Affairs, he's focused on all aspects of the mail supply chain and provides a voice of advocacy on behalf of thousands of BCC Software and Blue Crest customers. Chris also chairs the Board of Directors for the National Postal Forum. So Chris, welcome and thank you for being here.
Cassandra, thank you so much for the opportunity to present today, and thank you all for attending today's event as well. And to Cassandra's point, I'm going to do my best to keep this to the 1 hour time frame, but we do have a lot of content to share, and I want to make sure that you're all aware of this. Cassandra, can you see my screen? You can see that that I'm sharing
yes.
that? Perfect.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So again, thank you all for taking time here this afternoon, and we hope that you find this interesting for you as well. Again, my name is Chris Lien. I'm Executive Vice President of Postal Affairs, And as Cassandra noted, I've been involved in the mailing industry for over 30 years. So I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of things that have been going on over these last several decades. And it's an exciting time right now, but at the same time, it's also a challenging time. So I can appreciate that there's a lot going on. And that's what I want to start off with. If I were to begin talking about the year here, 2025, in the mailing industry from a Charles Dickens perspective, maybe it'd be the best of times or the worst of times. And it kind of depends on really where you're at. We have some headwinds as we come into 2025 right now. You've probably seen, and I know that Modern Litho has continued to work with the Postal Service on this, but service performance has been a real challenge with the Postal Service. As they're rolling out the Delivering for America plan, the performance is at an all-time low in some cases. And in fact, the Postal Service has lowered the bar, if you will, for their on-time service standards for 2025. So we're watching that closely. Postage has gone up 50% since 2021, and they're also contemplating a price increase in July of this year. I'll talk about that in a moment and what you can expect with it. Mail volume last year declined 2.8% for first class mail, 8.3% for marketing mail. So we're continuing to see some of that decline in mail volume. And then, of course, you probably saw some of the headlines. Postal Service lost $9.5 billion last year, and they're expected to lose $6.9 billion this year as well. So a lot of gloom on the left-hand side of the slide. But you know what? There's a lot of positivity. We've got some great tailwinds coming into this year, and that a lot of that comes from direct mail and the understanding that that high touch of that mail piece is significant. 81% of surveyed marketers from a Winterberry Group Outlook for advertising stated they're expecting to increase their direct mail spending. Maybe you're among them. Maybe you're part of the marketers that are looking to spend over $37 billion in direct mail this year alone. We had a very successful mail growth incentive last year. If you did not take part in the mail growth incentive last year, folks, you need to get going on that right away this year, hence the impetus for today's webinar. There were $534 million postage credits that were accumulated across the mailers that participated in the growth incentive. They're going to spend that this year. And the postal promotions, there's many to choose from. There's a lot of opportunity there, folks. You probably are already mailing pieces that qualify for this. They're off to a solid start. And that's really what I want to talk about today, because we need to get everybody prepared for the landscape ahead, because prices are going to go up in July. I mentioned that earlier. That's part of the headwind as we come into 2025. Now, you've seen that the prices have gone up quite a bit since 2021, when the Postal Regulatory Commission gave the Postal Service additional pricing authority. But the fact of the matter is, it's the consumer price index, inflation, that have buoyed up a lot of the pricing authority for the Postal Service. When you have record inflation in the past 40 years, it gives the Postal Service a lot of room for the raised prices, and they did that twice per year. And if I look at the cumulative increase for both first class marketing mail and periodical mail, you can see it's been quite significant looking back with that from 21 to 25, 24. And now as I look to 2025, yes, postage is going to go up again in July. This is part of what we discussed at MTAC. That's that Mailers Technical Advisory Committee that I continue to participate in as a former industry chair. And what was shared with us from Sharon Owens, the Vice President of Costing for the Postal Service, is that they were expecting anywhere from a 7 to 8% increase for first class of marketing mail. Periodicals, because they're not covering their costs, and this was recently validated in the annual compliance report from the Postal Service. We'll look for the determination in March from the Postal Regulatory Commission, but they get an additional 2% increase on top of that 7 to 8%. That starts to move it into that 9 to 10% realm again for periodicals. But here's the footnote on this. That growth incentive last year was so successful, over $500 million in credits, the Postal Service by law is able to count that as additional pricing authority as they come into this year. Now, we're still discussing this as an industry to see, do you really have that latitude? Is it really applicable? But it is some pricing guidance that was shared with us in the industry a couple of weeks ago at MTAC. And so now I'm sharing that with you as well. If the Postal Service Board of Governors approves and the Regulatory Commission also approves with it, you could be seeing significant increases in postage prices for July. So you need to get ready now. This is the whole point of today's webinar. We want to make sure that you're educated on what the promotions and the growth incentives are so that you can take advantage of those right away. And as I said before, many mail owners did take advantage of the 2024 growth incentives. And the good news is that those incentives carry into this year. So if you missed out on last year's growth incentive, don't worry, you can be part of that for this year. Last year, those mail owners that took advantage of it, there were over 1,300 mail owners that participated, generating $534 million in postage credits that they'll be spending this year. And they did get those credits because they put more mail in the system, more volume. They increased their volume to the tune of 5.4 billion more pieces collectively between first class mail and marketing mail. And as you look at the right hand side of the slide here, you can literally see that line of demarcation. For those mail owners that really didn't do anything different, right? I'll say they did nothing different, didn't take advantage of the growth incentive, didn't take advantage of the promotions last year. And those that did do something, those that took advantage of those incentives and promotions last year, and they did grow their mail volume. Overall, yes, volume went down. Actually, most of the reasons for the mail volume decline were removing undeliverables addressed mail pieces, which, by the way, is part of what BCC Software and Modern Litho do together. You see, when we look at the mailing industry, you see the tangible side of the industry with the printers and the sorting and the binding and the transportation, the containers that all help to deliver that physical mail piece. But there's an intangible side. There's the address quality. There's the software that helps to automate the process, helps you to get the work share discounts. In the case of address quality, helps Modern Litho to give you guidance on what pieces are undeliverables addressed or ineffective as addressed, and those pieces that have a better chance of getting a response rate and getting delivered on time. So working with that tangible and intangible with Modern Litho, you can maximize your mail volume. But again, as you see here on the slide, it really is a sharp contrast between the two different areas. So here again, we want to make sure you're aware that there are both growth incentives and postal promotions this year that you can take advantage of. And you're probably already qualified to do this. It may just be as simple as registering for it. The mail growth last year wasn't just about the dollars, right? The $534 million in postage credit. It really did generate growth and bring back some mailers to invest more in direct mail because it works. There's a phrase that we used to talk about years ago called spray and pray, right? I'd spray the barcode and pray it delivered on time. Those days are over, folks. We can now see where the mail pieces are. We can track the mail pieces. We can time digital messages to go along with the delivery of the mail piece to prime the mailbox as part of an omni-channel experience. And marketers across many different vertical industries are taking advantage of that. Grocery store chain returning to mail. They had stopped mailing with direct mail and now came back and realized, there's an opportunity to grow my business or reaching out to my customers with that. Financial institutions as well. We oftentimes hear about financial institutions looking to an electronic way of communicating with their customers for their statements and bills and payments and so forth. They're coming back to mail. And they're coming back because they know it works, right? I often talk about if I can touch it, I can trust it. I'll often ask people in an audience, hey, how many of you have 100 unread emails in your inbox, right? And many people will raise their hand. And now my follow-up question is, do you have 100 physical pieces in your mailbox you haven't looked at? No, you're getting the mail. And when you open your mail receptacle and you touch that piece touches you back and you begin that conversation. And it really works. And this is even why industrial companies, they're coming back and they're saying, hey, you know what? We want to be part of direct mail. But we're coming back to direct mail at a time when it's changed, right? It's very different than it was 5, 10, 20 years ago. And again, I've been in the industry for a long time. As I said, we can track the piece. We can see that. We've got digital messages that we can strategically time with it. And in the case of the Postal Service now, they're giving you discounts if you participate with that and grow your mail volume. I want to talk first about the mail growth incentive because the time to register for this is now. The registration has already opened up for mail growth incentive for this year, for 2025. And if you haven't heard about this, it's quite simple. If you have mailed last year in 2024, if you mailed at least 1 million pieces out of all the mailings that you did last year for either marketing mail or first class mail, you can't combine the two together. They have to be separate because the Postal Service by law can't mix different classes of mail. But if you mailed 1 million pieces or more, across all the different mail service providers you work with, it wouldn't necessarily have to be with Modern Litho. Of course, we want you to mail more with Modern Litho. But if you're mailing across all of that and it's 1 million pieces or more, you're already beginning to be eligible for this growth incentive. And how it works is you would register with the Postal Service. They would ask you to upload your CRIDs, your customer registration ID number, and what you think your total mail volume was for last year, right? And again, Modern Litho and others can help you figure out what that number is. And that registers a baseline with the Postal Service. And once that baseline is agreed upon by you and the Postal Service, then in calendar year 2025, as you're mailing, as you're putting more mail in the mail stream, if you go above that baseline, then every single piece beyond that, you start building credits. And that credit's going to be based on the average price per piece of what you've been mailing so far times 30%, right? So it's a 30% credit for future mailing purpose. Think of it like a frequent flyer program where I'm building up these credits that I can apply later. And the urgency for this is right now because the registration window is open for it and it will close in May. So we want to make sure you're registered for this right away. Again, 1 million pieces is sort of that baseline, the beginning of that. Your baseline is going to be above that million, whatever you did last calendar year. And then as you mail beyond that, you'll start to accumulate these credits, right? And so we can help you with that. There's more information on Postal Pro. I'm looking here and see I got a typo, but Postal Pro in the lower right corner, there's a frequently asked question on that. We want to help you get enrolled in that right away because it's a great opportunity for you to gain those credits. And how should you be spending those credits? How can you use those? Why, Postal Promotions, of course. And for this year, there are 5 different promotion categories that you can take advantage of. And again, it's not just in spending those credits, it's really any mail piece. And they run a range from integrated technology to tactile sensory interactive, continuous contact, reply mail using the intelligent mail barcode, accounting barcode, and putting first class mail with advertising combined together on the same mail piece. These are all great opportunities. They've expanded on some future or some prior things that we've done with the Postal Service. And what's new this year is any one of those 5 promotions, or actually 4 of the 5, the reply mail doesn't count on this, but the integrated technology, tactile sensory, continuous contact, and first mail advertising, you can add on top of that informed delivery and sustainability. You're recognizing that if the piece is recyclable or could be recycled. And I'm going to explain each one of these, but it can be quite substantial on your discounts. I do want to clarify though, and this is important with the Postal Service, I can't mix the base promotions together, but I can add these add-ons to that base promotion. So for example, I can't do a mail piece that's tactile and sensory interactive and integrated technology at the same time. I'm really going to kind of pick that base promotion. This will make sense as we go along here, but you'll see these discounts can be significant, 6% in discounts at the time of mailing with it. Now, these are promotions that have opportunities for you all year long. And some of the promotions are time specific based on when they begin and end throughout the year. And some, in the case of integrated technology, you get to choose when you want to begin and end that program in a 6-month continuous, what they call a pick 6 for that, right? So there are mailers right now already that are taking advantage of the integrated technology and getting a 3%, 4%, and 5% discount, depending on whether they add on the informed delivery and sustainability. They're getting those discounts off of their postage right now for the integrated technology. And there are many that are already getting enrolled in the tactile, sensory, and interactive, which kicks off for gaining those promotion discounts at the time of mailing on February 1st. So you can see a whole year of opportunity here, folks, a whole year where you can be getting discounts. And when you think about postage going up 7, 8, 9% in July, as I mentioned before, what a great way to mitigate that increase and maximize the value of the piece. See, it's not about the price of postage. It's the purpose of the piece. So we're going to start focusing more on how can we make that piece more purposeful and get a better return on investment and response rate out of that. I want to start first with an integrated technology. You've seen pieces like this. I know you're producing these pieces already because I'm getting them in my mailbox. You're putting things like QR codes on the mail piece, right? You're putting in some very advanced things like video and print, but there's a lot of ways you can get access to a 3% discount for pieces you're probably already printing right now. And you know what? The registration period has already opened for this because, again, integrated technology, you get to choose when you want to start and stop your window with it. So if you're already doing mail pieces, for example, that have artificial intelligence involved in building it, or a QR code as part of a mobile shopping experience, augmented reality, different things, right? You can take advantage of this. Now, if you've heard these promotions before, if you've maybe had the Postal Service talk to you about that, they always focus on the cool stuff, and I get it. Video and print, that's cool, but you know what? It's a really expensive piece to produce. Not everybody does that. I'm going to suggest let's go for the easy stuff to get so we can get that 3% off discount right off the bat. And I'm going to suggest that artificial intelligence using Chat GPT is probably one of the easiest way to do it. So think about it. Let's say you're designing a piece, right? It's going to be a statement as we see it on the screen here. Let's say, for example, I'm a credit card company, and I've decided I'm going to leverage ChatGPT to put together my call to action that I'm going to put on this statement for my credit card company. Okay. And I'll ask ChatGPT to help me fill in the language to be able to promote that card and get somebody to respond with it, and maybe click on a personalized URL to go to it. And maybe I also ask ChatGPT to help me with a hero image, as they call it, some kind of a picture that I can connect and relate to, that's going to give me a better chance of responding to that. Well, if I'm using ChatGPT to design that mail piece and I show the Postal Service literally the two screens that I just showed you, that would qualify for the discount. That would qualify for the 3%. It is literally that accessible for you, just to simply show the Postal Service, yes, I use ChatGPT to help me create the mail piece. This is what ChatGPT came back with. I put it on the mail piece. Boom, I got 3% discount with it. And if that mail piece itself is recyclable for this material, or could be recycled, I get an extra 1%. Now that's 4%. If I use informed delivery, and I'll talk about that in a minute, where you get the daily email, that's another 1%. That's 5%, folks. That's 5%, all within your reach. Okay. Maybe you're going to leverage a voice assistant device. I know many of you have one of these. In fact, I've got one from Amazon. She's behind me. She always thinks I'm talking to her, and I'm not, right? But if I say her name, my goodness, she's going to think that I'm asking her for something, and I'm not at this moment. So I won't say her name, but you can see it on the slide here that if I'm doing a postcard, for example, for ZipRecruiter, I might put on that mail piece, hey, ask your smart speaker her name, right? Open this respond first, and then tell me more about ZipRecruiter offer. Okay, that phrase, just having that on that mail piece would qualify. You would get the discount on that. So that's another very accessible way to be able to take advantage of that. Okay, again, here's another example, right? Ask your smart speaker to tell you about this. If you put that on that mail piece, and again, it could just be something you add in. I'm not asking about making big changes to your mail piece and your design and stuff, but just think about it. If there's an area that you can put on that piece where you're encouraging somebody to use their voice assistant, it's 3% right within your grasp, folks. And as a reminder, if I do the recyclable, the sustainability add-on, that's 4%. If I leverage informed delivery, that's another 1%. That's 5%. 5% all within your grasp. So definitely encourage you to take a look at that. Again, the registration's open on that. You can take advantage of that interactive capabilities. Talk a little bit about tactile and sensory and interactive. Again, you're doing pieces like this. I get these all the time. And I get it. Not everybody is printing scented mail pieces. It's funny. I'll go into a plant, and boy, the plant smells like oranges everywhere. It's like, well, yeah, we did a print run, and they wanted something that smelled like orange. Well, now the whole plant smells like orange, right? And a lot of times the Postal Service will talk about that. Hey, you should doing scented mail pieces. Well, you know what? That can be expensive, and not everybody wants to have that. Not everybody wants their plant smelling like oranges either. But you know what's a lot easier to get access to? How about a clean release card, right? A card that's just placed on the mail piece and it's a clean release. You see these all the time. Credit cards, things like that for financial, of course. Maybe, a loyalty card for a customer loyalty program. Could also be just a card that you detach and you bring in. Maybe it's a coupon for a pizza company. In case of the National Postal Forum, and Cassandra noted that I'm the chairman of the board for NPF last year, we sent out a postcard to all of the attendees where you could tear off the corner of that card and bring that in as an exhibit hall pass for somebody. That would qualify. It's interactive. You would get a 4% discount. And I know, folks, you're doing this now. You're printing out pieces that kind of pop up that give you the ability to do something interactive with that piece. That's 4%. And again, as you ought to add on sustainability, informed delivery, now you're into that 6% discount rate. That quickly mitigates, that price increase that we're looking at for July. And talk about a great way to be able to leverage those growth incentive discounts that you earned as well, to maximize your dollar, really make it stretch. Continuous contact is something new this year. And this is one that's gotten a lot of attention from the industry, because how do you define continuous contact? What does that mean? How does that work? The Postal Service is still working with the industry to understand, and really they've made it pretty open. It's pretty wide open on how you want to define continuous contact. But there are a few things that have emerged to give guidance to the mailing industry. First of all, let's start with, it's a multi-piece campaign, right? It's more than one piece. I'm mailing multiple times to a list of individuals, right? Names and addresses on a list. There's a theme. There's some kind of a connective theme around that, and each piece sort of builds upon it. So imagine Chris Lien's flower shop, right? And I send out a mail piece to let everyone know, hey, I got a new flower shop in the area. And it's just an introductory piece. We want you to come in and take a look at our, for any occasion, right? We can get you flowers. Maybe piece number 2 is Valentine's Day is coming up. Get some flowers for your loved one, right? That's piece number 2. Now I get a discount on piece number 2 because I've already primed the pump. I've already started the process, right? Maybe piece number 3 is Easter is right around the corner. Make sure you get your Easter lilies. You see where I'm going, right? I'm building upon it. It's all based on understanding Chris Lien has a flower shop, but I'm building it on with multiple pieces. Think about, a car dealership, for example, that wants to, talk about the different types of cars that they make available. I mean, it's so many different ways you can do this. And the best part is you don't have to have the whole campaign designed and locked down with actual examples of the pieces before registering for this. You can register for the continuous contact when the registration window opens up in February, with just the first piece that you're going to be sending out, and then the second piece, and then just the concept of what the subsequent pieces would look like. So you could get started on this right now. So if you're planning on doing any kind of a continuous contact type of or a multi-piece, multi-mailing type campaign, you want to take advantage of this 3% discount, folks, all within your reach. And again, I know you're doing these mailings. I see them all the time. So this is something that's, literally money left on the table. Here you see some examples. Yeah, jump in, Cassandra.
We just had a quick question directly related to that. So I just wanted to ask, with the continuous contact, if it's the same artwork for those pieces, does that count, or does it have to be different artwork or a truly different piece for continuous contact?
Great question. There can be some carry on from one piece to another, so there can be some thread of continuity. The Postal Service doesn't want to give you a blanket, approval with that, because they really want to look at each piece. They want to look at how it's being done, because they've given such latitude on it. But certainly if the continuous contact has sort of a relevant piece that goes along with it, right, or a graphic or something like that, then that's fine. What they don't want is the same piece mailed over and over and over again. It can't be completely identical. There has to be something that's changed from piece to piece and is progressive. That's another word I like to use. It's a theme and it's progressive. I'm building on something. Does that help?
All right. That's excellent. Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Here again, in this case, Good Sam Club, right? You've seen this before, but I've got my first letter going out, second letter and stuff, remail, redrop. You're kind of building on this a little bit, but this would qualify. Again, these are some examples of some pieces that the Postal Service is sort of building upon with this. So if you're mailing stuff like this, start thinking about that, registering with the Postal Service, and start sharing these concepts to be able to qualify for things like that. You mentioned before about your question is perfect for this one here. Note here, the picture of the agent's the same, right? But each one's a little bit different, right? A postcard, and then I got a second drop is going to be a letter package. So it can be a different mix of pieces, which by the way is very important. The mix of the mail is important in the mailbox. That's a whole report that the Office of Inspector General did a few years back that shows that works really well for response rates if you kind of mix things up. But here again, I'm carrying some similarities, but I'm making a few adjustments with it. That would count as well. Similar here, right? First drop, second drop, some similarities. Okay, they're very, very similar, but there's enough of a difference in that to qualify for it. Okay. So again, wide open. It's just that the Post Service really wants to kind of take a look and understand what you're doing with it. And some more examples here, right? An invitation pack here, and then you get a snap pack that goes along with that. But again, you're building upon these things. And there's so many different examples here on the screen. And you'll have these slides to be able to go back and refer to so you can kind of compare that. And by the way, and I'll share some links with you, there's a whole guidebook for that the Post Service has put together and has really done a great job of updating information on it that will give you a lot of in-depth information, which is one of the first things I want you to do is download that. So again, continuous contact, we could spend a whole hour on just that alone because there's so many ideas with it. The good news is that the Postal Service has presented a pretty wide area for you to begin that conversation. And the Postal Service has 40 people. They've actually made some investments and have 40 people that are on standby waiting for phone calls for you to contact them and talk to them and they can help you answer those questions. So they got 40 people ready to answer your questions about things like continuous contact. Reply mail, intelligent mail barcode accounting. So the IMBA is a slightly different flavor of the intelligent mail barcode that we're putting on our mail pieces. It facilitates accounting methodologies for the Postal Service for their electronic payment system. And what this discount is all about is if you're sending out qualified business reply mail pieces, and many first-class mailers are sending these out, if you put the unique serial number in the intelligent mail barcode as you design that piece, you could get a 6% discount. If you have a static barcode, meaning that there's no uniqueness from piece to piece, it's the same serial number, it'd be a 3% discount. Now remember, this is a little bit different than the other promotions in that you only get the 3 or the 6% discount for those BRM or business reply mail pieces that are mailed back. So if I sent out 1 million pieces, for example, and 10,000 came back, 10% of it came back to me, I would only get the discount on the 10,000 that came back. Okay, not on the whole mailing at the time that I submit the postage statement. So this one's a little bit different than the others, but you know what? It's all about encouraging the industry to start adopting and leveraging this new IMBA barcode to reduce the Postal Service's cost for their accounting system. And here again, you see an example. You've probably seen these qualified business reply mail pieces and stuff, but it's about helping the Post Services with their back end accounting system. So if you're doing BRMs right now, take a look at when you design that, see if you can use the IMBA with it, and you'll qualify for that discount for those pieces that are mailed back to you. And then the last one, the fifth one in the base promotions, is the first class mail advertising. You may have heard of a phrase called trans-promotional in the past, meaning a transactional document that's got promotional content and they kind of blend together. You see these all the time. You're probably producing these now. Hey, Chris, here's my cellular phone bill. And oh, by the way, here's a little ad on there for me to be able to get a new updated case for it or something like that. Or in the case here, maybe I'm getting my airline, frequent flyers, notice about how many miles I've accumulated so far. And here's a recommendation for you to take a cruise, down to Mexico on Carnival Cruise Line, which is in my future. So you could do things like that, right? And mix those two together. And when you do that, put advertising on first class mail, 3% discount, folks, 3% discount. It's very, very accessible. I know you're doing this already. It's a great way to not only get access to the discount, but you know what? Studies show, and in fact, the Household Diary study, which is published by the Postal Service every year, first class mail gets a higher open rate than other classes, right? On average, marketing mail, without anything special on it, is probably going to get about a 5 to 8% open rate with it. First class mail is going to get anywhere from maybe an 8 to 11% open rate with it. Again, assuming you've got addresses that are complete, correct, and current, and they get delivered to the end individual. So recognizing that first class mail has that higher open rate, put some advertising in it, and that will get you access to the discount to go along with it as well. Now, I mentioned 5 base promotions. 4 of them qualify for these additional add-ons. The only one that would not qualify for the add-ons is that business reply mail, and it's because that's something that happens after the mailing has gone out, right, as I talked about before. But the other 4, right, the interactive technology, tactile sensory, first-class mail advertising, continuous contact, those have an opportunity to add up your discount by including the informed delivery and the sustainability. So I can get up to 2% more by adding in these additional add-ons. And by the way, if you do the informed delivery, you're helping out your partners at Modern Litho as well, because they're part of it is also because they're the eDoc submitter. So they're also participating in this. But the most important thing with all of this is it's not just that price of postage, which is going to go down because of the promotions. The purpose of the piece is going to go higher. You're going to get a much better response rate, and you're going to get a much higher open rate. So what is informed delivery? I know you're already getting this. These are daily emails, right, that tell you what's coming in your mailbox. Okay, and people have really jumped on this. I'll show you the slide here in a minute about how many people in the country have already opted into this. But what a great way to be able to engage with the end recipient of the mail piece even before they're holding that physical piece. In their daily email, you can send a color picture, which by the way goes to the top of the email feed. Anything that's color goes in front of the black and whites on that feed. Maybe you've already seen these and said, oh, that's kind of cool. I get better placement because I've got color in there. Well, now you get a 1% discount as well. And if I click on that color image, I can begin engaging with you as a mail owner and start working on that. Think about it, right? Maybe I'm messaging to somebody as part of an omni-channel campaign. Hey, Chris, 2 days from now, something special is coming in the mail. Keep an eye out for it. The day before, tomorrow's a big day. Make sure you go to your mailbox for an extra discount. The day of, I see my informed delivery. Yep, there's my feed. There's the color image. I click on that. It says, yep, you've already qualified for a 10% discount. But if you scan the QR code on that physical piece, I'll give you another 5% for a total of 15 and tell you where the nearest store is. I'm making this up, but you get the idea, right? So this is a great way to be able to maximize the open rate, take advantage of that, and get that additional 1% discount on any of those 4 examples. And here you see it on the slide, right? The color images are always going to be higher up in the email listings than the grayscale images. With that, and you've got a lot of flexibility with that color image. It can be supportive of that physical mail piece, but it doesn't have to match it exactly. It can have an additional complementary strong call to action with it. So a lot of different latitude there. And again, Modern Litho can help you take advantage of this and get involved with this discount and increase the value of the mail piece. And a lot of people are using informed delivery. Hopefully you're one of them as well. 67.6 million people have subscribed to this, right? As of last year, and it continues to grow as you see on the slide on the right. 47.5 million households, folks. 47.5 million out of the 167 million delivery points. That's pretty significant. Okay, that's a number that's now reached a point where you should be paying attention to this, and it's within your grasp. You can be touching people electronically even before the pieces arrived as part of priming the mailbox. And get a much bigger response rate on, then a higher likelihood for somebody to engage. And it's nationwide. You can see here it's across the country. People are opting in on this, and they see value in it. So it's a great way to be able to get their eyeballs on it. They may be tuning out email from other individuals, but they're not tuning out the Postal Service. It's a trusted medium. So in most cases, that's the ones that you're going to see in their inbox. It's not being diverted to some spam folder or something. You're going to see this piece. You're going to get a much better attribution and again, response rate on that and get a 1% discount. Sustainability, a big initiative for the Postal Service. That's why they're doing the electric vehicle rollout and many of the other initiatives that they're doing as part of the Delivering for America plan. Well, you can be part of it as well by using paper or material that is recyclable or could be recycled, right? So it's even both. And if any part of the piece is recyclable, any part of it, doesn't have to be the whole piece, folks. If any part is recyclable or could be recyclable, you would qualify for the 1% discount. So think about that as you're making your decisions about what paper to work with, about what medium that you're going to be producing for your mail piece. 1% is within your reach. And again, this is year round, right? So this is on top of the other promotions with it. Very easy to do. If you're, for example, Silvamo, if I always use Silvamo paper, for example, for all my mail pieces, well, Silvamo's already got an approval from the Postal Service for that particular type of paper for the entire year. I'm already qualified. I already get the 1%. I don't have to worry about adding that on to my base piece. I can now focus on just the base promotion. So it's a great way to be able to further increase your promotion discount and very quickly start to take away that scary price increase of July of that 7, 8, or 9% and get that into a manageable 1, 2, or 3% increase for you.
Hey, Chris,
So,
can I add
yeah,
a note on that one?
you do.
So on the environmentally
Yeah.
conscious paper side, so Modern Litho actually, a lot of our house stocks are FSC or SFI certified already, and they do
Perfect.
qualify. So if you're currently printing on our house stocks, we can, verify that, and then you would already be obviously approved too. So just
That's
wanted to
fantastic.
mention that.
Thank you for sharing that, Cassandra. I'm so glad that you
Yeah,
brought that up. I mean, look at
yeah.
that, folks. Think about it. Already, right? Already Modern Litho has paved the way for you to get a 1% discount. Let's fill in the blanks and get it up to 3, 4, 5, 6% if possible, depending on the base promotion. All of that, again, is within your reach from your friends here at Modern Litho. So what are my action items, right? I know I threw a lot of stuff at you and I want to keep it and be respectful of your time with it. And as a reminder, you're going to get these slides. You're going to be able to look at these. You're going to be able to reference it. In fact, I want you to do that. I want you to take that calendar of opportunities, print that out, put that on your desk, have it right there, right? Tape it on your forehead when you look in the mirror in the morning. Every day you've got an opportunity with this, folks. But the very first thing I want you to do is download that postal promotion guidebooks. You need to understand what's available with the guidebooks. The Postal Service is going to give you some ideas and suggestions in there. There's some sample pieces. You saw some of the slides that I presented there. You're going to want to think about what you're already producing now. If you're currently working with a design agency in-house, or maybe you're working with Modern Litho as they're helping you to prepare your pieces, think about what would qualify for that, right? And maybe make that 1 or 2 little adjustments. I mentioned before the voice assisted device. Just by putting, I'm not saying change your piece completely. I'm just saying add that phrase in there, right? About accessing the voice assistant. Man, that's 3%. And then again, with the paper that Modern Litho is working with, you'd get that extra 1% for 4. It's all within your reach. Start creating a catalog. Think of all the pieces that you're doing throughout the year. Talk to, in this case, it's a little bit more, for Modern Litho, but we want the conversation beginning now. We want to have that conversation. We want you to talk to your rep. We want you to begin planning this out because the window of opportunity is already open. And this is not just with the promotions, which is all kinds of different ways for you to be able to get those discounts. Don't forget the growth incentive. So as a reminder on that, if you've done 1,000,000 pieces across all your marketing mailings that you did last year, across all the different companies that help you produce those, you're already in the game, right? We just need to get you registered. We can help you with that. So you want to make sure that you're getting involved in that. Again, the guidebooks and the information, including that growth incentive, are all on Postal Pro, and you can download those and take a look at those. Modern Litho definitely wants to help you with that. BCC is also working with Modern Litho, and again, hence the presentation today. We want to make sure everyone's aware of this. The Postal Service is working hard to make sure everyone's aware. So we want to get the word out there because if we can increase the value of mail, that benefits everybody. Then we're going to start to bring people back into the mailing industry. Then we're going to start maximizing that. And we're going to be able to help that Delivering for America plan truly do what it needs to do, which is deliver for all of us. So again, the enrollment process, once I do enroll in that, it begins with the Business Customer Gateway. And there's a mailing promotions portal. If you've not signed up for the Business Customer Gateway, we can help you get that started. In many cases, you probably already have a login, so we just want you to get in there, go look at the promotions portal, and then submit a mail piece for pre-approval. So it doesn't have to be the physical piece. It can be a PDF of it. There's a wide range of ways for you to be able to get that started. If you got questions, as I mentioned before, there's 40 people at the Postal Service that are ready to answer your questions. Postal Service will review that sample piece, and they're committed to getting you a response within 4 hours or less within 4 hours or less after you've submitted that piece, they're going to respond to you and let you know it's approved, or hey, if you made this one little change, you're good to go, or no, that's completely outside of what we were thinking, right? And maybe give you some more guidance as to where you can kind of move that back into something that's qualified. And the most important thing really on this slide, just like we all learned how to make cereal in the morning as children, right? You put the cereal in the bowl before you put the milk. You got to get approved for the promotion before you claim the discount, right? So be careful not to try and claim the discount and say, oh, well, Chris Lien said I get all this money without having to do anything special. No, you gotta get each mailing approved. Okay, just because a piece was approved at a prior mailing and you're doing a second mailing that kind of looks like that, each one has to be approved. Okay, but again, very quick process to have that done. I mentioned the resources, and again, this is why we want to make sure that you have these slides available, which they will be, so you can click on these links, or as I mentioned before, contact the Postal Service at the toll-free number on the right. They've got these professionals. There's 40 of them. They are ready to answer your questions, and they are very knowledgeable on these pieces. They've seen many, many, many different types of pieces. So they're anxious and they're looking forward to seeing what your creative ideas are to leverage these promotions and increase the value of mail. So I know I answered a couple of questions in there, and I've been trying to stay on our time frame here. But Cassandra, I'm ready to answer
Yes.
what else is in the chat
Okay.
or the Q&A.
We have a few questions in the chat and the Q&A, so I'm going to kind of bounce back and forth.
Yep.
So we're going to, the first question is, can informed delivery be used as a standalone promotion or only a complement or an add-on, as you mentioned?
That's a great question. So it's only available as an add-on for this calendar year. Prior to 2025, it was a standalone promotion in and of itself, and it was only available for about 60, 90 days in the fall timeframe. But the Postal Service decided, let's take informed delivery out of being a standalone and make it available all year long. So instead of just 90 days of potential, you got 365 days of potential with that. So it is not a standalone promotion anymore. It's an add-on. But as you saw on my slides, it's an easy 1% to add on all year long to any one of those 4 base promotions.
Right. Yes. And I bet we could help you get qualified, Holly, for another promotion to add that on to. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we have another question that says, does the reply mail IMBA discount only work on business reply envelopes or BREs, or does it also work on courtesy replies?
It's only for QBRM, so it has to be qualified business reply mail pieces. So not CRM, it's BRM only, QBRM. And when you go in and design that using the Postal Service's online tool, you'll see that's where you can go ahead and put that in. And once that piece is designed, then you would go into the promotion portal. You'd qualify for that. You'd look to submit that for approval, and then you'd be able to do that. But it doesn't count for CRM.
Okay. Will periodical publications qualify for any of these, or periodicals that mail via marketing mail, or maybe?
Yeah, that's a great question. So periodical as a class of mail does not qualify for promotions. The Postal Service is still taking the position that periodicals as a class of mail do not cover their attributable costs. And thus the Postal Regulatory Commission will not allow the Postal Service to add promotions to something that doesn't cover its attributable cost. However, and I'm glad you made that caveat to it, if I were to mail the piece at marketing mail rate, then it would qualify, right? So it really comes down to the class of mail with it. So if I mail it out at marketing mail rate, it's no longer deemed a periodical, and now I could open up the door for this promotion discounts. And maybe I've got an interplay between the two, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can leverage the different classes of mail to increase your subscription, your number of subscribers or non-subscribers to get them involved for your periodical, programs or magazines.
Yes, right. And so in periodical, we're talking about publication. Yeah, right. The publication side there too.
Right.
Yeah. The next question is, this is more related to modern litho, but we're a direct mail production facility, and we mail over 1 million pieces per year under our company permit. But that mail quantity obviously consists of a bunch of separate mailings for different customers. We do qualify for the growth incentive, I would assume.
No,
No,
actually you
we
wouldn't.
don't?
No, you wouldn't. No.
Okay.
So that's,
Okay.
yeah, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that.
Mhm.
Here's the best way to think about it, folks. The Post Service defines a mail owner as the primary benefactor of the mailing, right? So if even though it may be under a mail service provider's permit and you're paying for it on behalf of your 10, 15, 20 customers, technically it's the 10, 15, 20 customers that are really the mail owner, right? They're the primary benefactor with it. So now there's some gray area in that. I don't want to completely, rain on your parade, but so we have to kind of look at some of the details on that to better understand. But by and large, growth incentive is for a mail owner, not the mail service provider.
All right. So customers on the call, those
Yeah.
they're just for you. They're not for us.
Well, and
And those are for you.
just to build on that for a moment, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, mail owners, you're the ones that would get the credit, okay? You're going to get the credit on that. Um, Modern Litho can help you enroll in that, and they want to help you
Absolutely.
enroll in that. They want you to get that credit, right? And then as you accumulate those credits, then you decide as a mail owner what permit accounts do you want to transfer those credits into to be spent. Okay, so they go kind of in this little holding pool, and then you need to allocate them to a permit. And that's the point where, again, Modern Litho would be happy to help you allocate those credits to some of the permits that Modern Litho has on your behalf so that you can use that for future mailing. So then you don't even have to worry about, did I spend all my credits or not? Modern Litho is helping you out with that.
Absolutely. Another one is can informed delivery work for business to business, B2B?
Yes, yes, it can. Now, one caveat on that, right? So informed delivery, again, that's that daily email of what's coming in. When we talk about businesses, because it's really aimed at more of a consumer recipient, a household like that. But we've been working, the Post Service and MTAC, on expanding that into businesses, primarily like small businesses, things like that. Because the key thing is you've got a ZIP+4 that is associated with an email. Well, whose email should it go to, right? If it's a business, does it go to the owner? Does it go to the secretary? Does it go, I mean, who does it go to, right? So there are some situations where a business makes absolute clear sense that they should be part of informed delivery. There's some more complicated businesses, right, where we're still working through some of the details with that. But the short answer to your question is business to business mailings would qualify, but there are some businesses that are not currently enrolled in the informed delivery, but it would qualify with that. Okay.
All right. And so I have two that are kind of related. One is, are there minimum mail quantities to qualify for each of the incentives? And then the related one is there a minimum or maximum for specifically the continuous contact discount?
Yeah. So great question on that. When we're talking about promotions, there is no specific minimum on that. Obviously, they're looking at, your normal minimum is for a bulk mailing, right? 2,000 pieces in the marketing mail, 5,000 or 200 for marketing mail, 500 for first class mail, and so forth. So there's some kind of an expectation with that for that volume, particular part of it for the promotions. The minimum volume that comes into play is really more for that growth incentive. That's where that 1 million pieces is involved across all of those. But there's quite a bit of latitude on the promotions. It can be very small targeted mailing with that.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. That was the end
Yeah.
of our questions in the chat. We appreciate your time today. I just wanted to kind of wrap up and tell a little bit of a personal testament. So we are actually launching our Momentum magazine next week. It's going to be mailing the first week of February uh, as a kind of a redesign and a relaunch. But Modern Litho is actually taking advantage and walking the walk because we are qualifying for the tactile sensory um, incentive or promotion plus the sustainability add-on with that magazine alone. And it's printed on our house stock. It has a soft touch cover and obviously it's FSC certified. So we're excited to save 5% on our postage on our mailing. So we are just glad to be a part of the promotions and help to walk the walk.
Well, that's excellent. That's great. And hopefully it was a pretty easy thing for you to register for that
Yes.
discount. And you've now got
Absolutely.
an example that you can share with your customers, that they know, look, it's all within your reach, folks. What a great way to be able to mitigate postage, but more importantly, increase the value of the piece. So let's focus on the purpose of the piece, not the price of promotion or the price of postage, and take advantage of the promotions with the Postal Service through Modern Litho.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. And I'm looking forward to